friends. We're reading a book called Dream Something Big, the story of the Watts Towers by Diana Hutz Ashton. And it says collages by Susan L. Roth. So instead of pictures, they've done artwork in the book like this. They've made collages and pictures of collages. These are actual photographs, I believe here, but right here is some of the collages. And how many words are in the title? Dream something big. Count them. 1, 2, 3. If you said 3, you're right. It says 1 chip of tile. Uncle Sam held in his hand, studying it, his imagination turning like a kaleidoscope. He put it in his pocket. I'm going to do something big, I heard him say. And a kaleidoscope is one of those things that you turn around and the colors change in it, the cylinder. Maybe I'll bring one and show you guys next time. I didn't know it then, but that single drop of tile was no longer trash. It was the first building block to a candy-covered castle. Uncle Sam was my neighbor. His name was Simon, but we never called him that. We lived in Watts, California, on 107th Street, where the aroma of tamales sizzled in the air, where the trucks of Japanese farmers rumbled to and from vegetable markets, where music and laughter rippled from diners and dancers at the Watts Tavern. No one really knew what to think about Uncle Sam, this man who talked about himself as he hunted through garbage heaps for things that no one wanted. A rainbow of broken teapots, plates, tiles, and sparkling bottles. I collected jewels with him along the railroad tracks. Sacks and sacks and sacks of them. My favorites were the tiles with blue flowers, the soda bottles with the girl and the bubbles, and the green horse. For every bag of bits, he gave me a penny. Pennies bought me a lot of candy, so she was helping him. With her dog, I guess. Uncle Sam worked in a tile factory every day except Sundays and holidays, but he worked on his creation every night, every Sunday, every holiday. He took those bags of glass and smashed them. I watched him shove steel rods under the railroad tracks and transform them into rings. Uncle Sam was small and skinny, but his muscles were mighty. Some people called him crazy, but he wasn't. He was a magician. Oh, and it says whack, whack, whack here when he was working, or the sounds he made. In broken things, he saw what no one else noticed. He found hearts in the backs of old ice cream parlor chairs, flowers on faucet handles, the sun in rusty gears. People who couldn't see the hearts and flowers wondered, who built it? Why build it? I can't tell you, he said. Why a man make the pants? Why a man make the shoes? Uncle Sam talked to himself while he mixed a secret recipe for mortar. This much sand, this much cement, this much water. Cement as powdery as flour, sand as finely ground as sugar, water to bind them. He wrapped wire mesh around the poles and smoothed the cement around them and carefully pressed a jigsaw of jewels into his batter of wet cement. Day after day, year after year, working on this, something big without gloves, until the fingerprints were wore away. A ship appeared. A tower rose. A cactus garden bloomed. In his strange mix of Italian and English that was difficult for all of us to understand, he told us about the great towers and the ship he'd seen as a child in the parades of his village of Rubitali. Towers that were 6 stories high. Uncle Sam worked long into the night, singing to himself, flitting from run to rung like a firefly. Turn out the light, Uncle Sam. I'm a working up here, Marguerite. Every day the trains pass by with tens of thousands of passengers a week, going to and from Los Angeles. The towers were Uncle Sam's stage, the passengers his audience. Dust from the train swirled around him, but he didn't let it bother him. He was in the spotlight. Another tower arose. Uncle Sam showed my children the triangles in the branches of the trees. And you can see them, all the little triangles. Triangles, he said, were the strongest shapes. and he built his towers with triangles day after day, year after year. He showed me and my children the beauty of a broken angel, a bowling ball, a boot, the usefulness of an airplane wing, the patterns shells and rocks could make. Uncle Sam was a spider weaving his web of steel and cement and lacy shadows. The third tower was his last. He wrote his initials, Nuestro Pueblo, in cement. Our town, a village for the world. Not long after that, Uncle Sam suddenly put away his tools and jewels and stopped building. We were all surprised. He put on a suit, pinned his life savings inside it, and gave the deed to his triangular lot with its ship and towers, fountain and gardens to a friend, and walked away. We never saw Uncle Sam again. But I remember him, my Uncle Sam, my neighbor for 34 years, the dreamer. People no longer call Simon, Rhodia foolish and crazy. They call him a man of genius who built a gigantic flower of folk art, a man with a heart full of gratitude to the country that had invited him to dream without limits, the country that had given him the freedom to reach for the sky. Uncle Sam's Something Big is now a national landmark. And then they tell you a little bit about him at the end and some pictures of what he really made. And then maybe someday we can do an activity too, where we can build a tower. Bye, friends.